My dear sisters, let me tell you something powerful today. Your silence after his rejection is not weakness, it is divine strength cloaked in dignity. When a woman knows who she is in God, she doesn't beg to be seen. She doesn't chase what walks away. She doesn't explain her value to someone who failed to perceive it. No, she walks in silence not because she is broken, but because she is whole. That silence is not empty. It is filled with wisdom, healing, and identity. You see, rejection is man's opinion, but your worth is God's truth. A man may look at you and say, you're not enough, but the God who created you said, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. A man may turn his back on you, but heaven still calls you daughter. The world may overlook you, but purpose has not forgotten you. Your silence is not a reaction, it's a revelation. It reveals that you are no longer moved by flesh, but led by spirit. Don't you ever think that your quietness goes unnoticed? That man who rejected you hears it loud and clear. Every day he sees you walking in peace, unbothered, untouched by his dismissal, something begins to stir in his soul. You are not calling, not texting, not explaining, not pleading. And that silence is speaking louder than any word you could ever say. It says, I know who I am. I know what I carry. And I don't need you to validate what God has already affirmed. Listen to me, you are not just a woman, you are a kingdom vessel. And a kingdom woman does not fall apart when someone exits her life. She understands that not everyone is assigned to her destiny. Rejection is not the end of your story. Sometimes it's the beginning of your unveiling. When people walk away, God reveals who you truly are. Your silence becomes your sanctuary where he speaks, daughter, I never left you. I never rejected you. You are still mine. Let me remind you, you are not an option. You are not a backup plan. You are a divine appointment. And if someone couldn't see that, your silence tells them they lost a treasure. Not out of pride, but out of identity. You are too valuable to campaign for someone's attention. You are too chosen to beg for love. And when you go silent, it's not punishment, it's preservation. You are preserving your peace, your future, your calling. And oh yes, it's killing him. Because now he sees what he dismissed. Now he feels what he thought he would never miss. And now he watches from a distance as the woman he rejected blossoms into a queen before the eyes of the world. Your silence is your elevation. Your silence is God's way of saying, let Maine fight for you. Don't clap back. Don't retaliate. Don't explain. Just rise. Just walk. Just keep moving with grace and fire in your eyes. When you are silent, it doesn't mean you are void of thoughts or emotions. It means you are guarding your soul. You are choosing stillness over chaos, clarity over confusion, purpose over impulse. You are allowing God to speak on your behalf, knowing that his vindication is far louder than your defense. Silence is the space where wisdom grows. It is the soil where discernment is watered. When you don't retaliate, when you don't lash out, you are demonstrating power under control, true strength wrapped in self-respect. There is a time to speak, but there is also a time to be still. And in that stillness, your identity is preserved. You are not explaining yourself to someone who could not handle the fullness of who you are. You are not giving more to someone who already mishandled your value. You are resting in the truth that your worth is not up for debate. Silence becomes your sanctuary. It is not you running away, it is you rising above. Not because you can't speak, but because you have mastered when not to. That is the wisdom of a woman who knows who she is. Rejection cannot redefine your worth, only your Creator can. When someone walks away from you, misjudges you, or fails to see your value, it does not subtract anything from who you truly are. Human opinions are limited, often clouded by personal insecurity, fear, or immaturity. But your value was never established by people. It was spoken into existence by God himself. He formed you with intentionality, crowned you with dignity, and called you his masterpiece. That truth is unshaken by the preferences or perceptions of others. When a man rejects you, it may hurt, but it doesn't mean you are less desirable, less intelligent, or less worthy. It simply means he was not assigned the capacity to handle what God placed inside of you. And instead of chasing his approval, you must remember you were already approved before the foundation of the world. The creator of the universe knit you together with precision and called you very good. That is your true identity, not the label rejection tries to tattoo on your heart. Sometimes rejection is redirection. God allows certain people to exit your life not because you are unworthy, but because He is making space for alignment, for elevation, for someone or something that truly recognizes your divine essence. What someone threw away, God will crown. What someone ignored, heaven will highlight. But you must not let temporary rejection rewrite the eternal truth about who you are. You are not rejected, you are redirected. You are not forgotten, you are hidden. Hidden for a time, protected for a purpose, preserved for a destiny. And while others may reject your presence, they can never cancel your purpose. Only the one who created you has the authority to define you, and He calls you chosen, precious, and irreplaceable. Silence is a seed planted in the soil of self-respect. It is the quiet decision to honor yourself when someone else chooses not to. It is not a void or an absence, it is a beginning. When you choose silence after disrespect, betrayal, or rejection, you are not giving up. You are planting something powerful deep within your spirit. You are sowing self-worth, dignity, and emotional discipline. That silence begins to take root, and over time it grows into strength, clarity, and a renewed identity that no one can take from you. Choosing silence does not mean you have nothing to say. It means you value your voice too much to waste it where it won't be honored. It is refusing to argue with someone who has already made up their mind. It is walking away not because you are weak, but because you know your energy is sacred. Silence becomes your shield. It protects your mind from chaos and your heart from unnecessary battles. And though the world may see it as passive, heaven sees it as powerful. It is your way of stepping back so that God can step in back. Over time, that seed of silence produces fruit. You begin to hear the voice of God more clearly. You begin to heal without needing closure. You begin to grow in peace, no longer dependent on apologies that may never come. And while others may question your quietness, you know it's not silence from pain, it's silence from peace. You are choosing to rise, not react. You are choosing to move forward without needing to be understood. And in that stillness, your self-respect speaks louder than any words ever could. The seed you planted in silence will bloom into a garden of strength, purpose, and inner freedom. Your absence becomes His mirror. When you stop reaching out, stop explaining, stop showing up where you are no longer valued, something powerful happens. The silence of your presence echoes louder than any conversation. The space you leave behind becomes a reflection not just of you, but of Him. He begins to see not only what He had, but what He mishandled. In your absence, the truth begins to settle in. He didn't just walk away from a woman, He walked away from a gift, a covering, a favor He did not understand. A woman's presence carries peace, encouragement, strength, and vision. When that presence is removed, it exposes what once covered his flaws. Your words that used to build him up are no longer there. Your prayers, your support, your light all gone. And suddenly he's left looking into a mirror called regret. The silence that used to confuse him now convicts him. The quiet that used to annoy him now teaches him. Your absence reveals what your presence once protected. And this mirror doesn't flatter, it reveals. He sees how he ignored the value, how he played with consistency, how he mistook your loyalty for weakness. It's not your anger that haunts him, it's your peace. It's not your words that echo, it's your calm departure. Because when a woman walks away without drama, without bitterness, without trying to prove a point, her absence becomes a lesson he can't unlearn. You're not gone because you lost, you're gone because you grew. You realize that staying would mean shrinking. And now that you're no longer trying to be seen, your absence is showing him everything your presence covered. He's not just missing you, he's facing himself. And your silence is the mirror that's teaching him what your love tried to show him all along. Divine identity rejects desperation. When a woman truly knows who she is in God, she no longer needs to beg for love, chase after validation, or plead to be chosen. She understands that her worth is not determined by who accepts her, but by the one who created her. She was formed with purpose, crowned with honor, and filled with divine value. That identity cannot be shaken by silence, rejection, or abandonment. It is anchored in heaven, not in human approval. Desperation is what happens when identity is absent. It drives people to compromise, to cling, to settle for less than they deserve. But when a woman walks in her divine identity, desperation dies. She knows she was never designed to compete for attention or force herself into spaces that do not recognize her brilliance. She carries herself with grace, not because she's arrogant, but because she is aware that she is a daughter of the King, and kings don't beg to be seen. When you know your identity, rejection doesn't ruin you, it refines you. It becomes a filter, not a failure. You stop seeing it as a loss and start seeing it as God's redirection. You no longer ask, why didn't he choose me? But instead declare, thank you, Lord, for preserving me. You understand that if someone could not see your worth, it says nothing about your value. It only exposes their blindness. Desperation says, choose me. Identity says, I'm already chosen. Desperation says, I need you to love me. Identity says, I am loved deeply, eternally, by the one who never leaves. That's why a woman of divine identity can walk away not out of pride, but out of peace, because she knows that what God has for her will not require begging, chasing, or compromising. It will align with the dignity of her design. Silence is heaven's strategy for inner healing. When God wants to restore you, he often removes the noise. He silences the distractions, quiets the chaos, and separates you from voices that have confused your value. After rejection or heartbreak, silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of God's healing work. It is in that stillness where he begins to speak, not to your situation, but to your soul. The world may not understand it, but in the quiet, heaven is operating on your heart. There is something sacred about silence after pain. It's not just about withdrawing from others, it's about returning to yourself. It is where God gently uncovers the wounds you tried to hide with words and busy schedules. It's where he peels back the layers of broken expectations, disappointments, and false identities. He doesn't rush the process. He allows you to sit in the stillness so you can hear him clearly say, you are still mine. You are still worthy. You are still whole. Healing doesn't always come through noise. Sometimes it comes through divine silence, those moments when no one calls, no one affirms, no one explains, and yet deep within you begin to breathe again. God uses that silence to detox your spirit. He detoxes you from dependency on people, from craving affirmation, from needing someone else's presence to feel complete. Silence becomes the soil where healing begins to take root. In the stillness, you are not alone, you are surrounded by grace. While people may think you are silent because you are broken, heaven knows you are silent because you are being rebuilt. God hides you in silence, not to punish you, but to prepare you. It is his strategy, sacred, intentional, powerful. He speaks in whispers, mends his silence, and makes you whole in the quiet. Purpose makes rejection irrelevant. When a woman understands her divine assignment, no rejection can derail her destiny. Rejection may sting in the moment, but it cannot change the plan that God has written on her life. Her value and calling are not dependent on someone's acceptance or approval. Instead, they are anchored in a higher purpose that transcends temporary setbacks. When purpose burns bright within her, rejection becomes nothing more than a redirection and invitation to step into something greater. A woman who is purpose-driven does not waste time on bitterness or regret. She knows that every closed door is making way for the one God has prepared. She is not defined by who left, but by who called her. The disappointment of rejection is overshadowed by the excitement of destiny. This understanding empowers her to move forward boldly with faith that what is meant for her cannot be taken away. Rejection may feel personal, but purpose is universal and eternal. It whispers to her soul, reminding her that her life is not about fitting into someone else's expectations or desires. It is about fulfilling God's design for her. When purpose is clear, the opinions of others become background noise. The approval she seeks is no longer human, but heavenly. And with every step she takes toward her purpose, rejection loses its grip and relevance. Purpose transforms pain into power. It changes setbacks into setups. It makes rejection a mere moment in a much larger journey. For the woman who knows her purpose, rejection is irrelevant because her destiny is undeniable. She walks forward with confidence, knowing that what God has for her is greater than any loss she may face. Remember this, your silence after his rejection is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of your breakthrough. It is the sacred space where your dignity is preserved, your worth is declared, and your purpose is affirmed. Do not rush to explain, beg, or prove yourself to those who fail to see your value. Instead, stand firm in the knowledge that you are created by the Almighty, chosen before time, and destined for greatness beyond any temporary rejection. Let your silence speak volumes, not of pain, but of power, not of weakness, but of unwavering strength. Because a woman who knows her divine identity does not chase what walks away. She rises higher, shines brighter, and moves forward with a destiny no one can deny. Your silence is not killing you or him. It is awakening the greatness within you. Embrace it and watch God turn your quiet into your victory.